Okay, so we get to this story called Heroes in Crisis. It's a 9-issue limited series being written by Tom King, who has worked on some Vertigo titles, Batman and Mr. Miracle, and it's going to be illustrated by Clayman. Yeah, that's an actual name, but yeah. The idea of this storyline is basically this. According to King, the idea for Heroes in Crisis was conceived in 2016 after he suffered from a panic attack, went to the hospital, and his grandmother who raised him passed away on that same day. King had to go through therapy, after which he decided to use what he learned in a DC comic. The homestead of Sanctuary on the cover of Heroes in Crisis is modeled after his grandmother's house as a tribute to her. The story is primarily dealing with the emotional cost of being a superhero and explore what violence does to a society, a common theme in King's work. Since he's a former CIA counterterrorism officer, believed this was an important subject that needed to be discussed. He says this: comic books throughout the whole history of the medium have been a reflective of history. In World War II, there were comics about fighting in World War II. In the 70s, there were comics about psychiatric escape. Unfortunately, our moment right now is a moment of violence and living with violence, and our comics had to address that, he said. Rumors of this new crisis came out, and back in May 2018, the rumors were quickly denied by DC Comics co-publisher Jim Lee, who tweeted, "Rumors of reboots are ridiculous. Stop with misinformation. Thanks and have a great weekend." DC announced the series on June 12, 2018, after King made an appearance on the Late Night Show with Seth Meyers. And the first issue would be released on September 26, 2018. Okay, the idea of a storyline addressing the political and the emotional cost of being a superhero and the growing violence in today's world actually sounds like a fairly interesting premise. It could really tell something and give a perspective. But a lot of people were wondering, why is this called a crisis? Like, when everyone thinks of a crisis, they think of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, big cataclysmic events that involve the multiverse. And then it was revealed that this would be billed as a murder mystery. So basically, this is a sequel to Identity Crisis. And yeah, here's the thing. Here, Crisis will chronicle the aftermath of a mass shooting at the Sanctuary Rehabilitation Center set up by Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Sanctuary has been mentioned in several comics from what I've gathered. It's been mentioned in Batman. It's even mentioned in Doomsday Clock, talking about a shooting that happened at the Sanctuary, describing it as effed up and whatnot by one of the villains. And if the villain is saying that what happened was morally fucked up, then you know this should be considered a big deal. And yeah, it was to treat with superheroes with mental health issues from Earth-threatening events such as post-traumatic stress disorder. Alongside the Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, they were also going to be joined up by Harley Quinn and Booster Gold. So this is where we get to their issue. A lot of people I was wondering, why is it still called a crisis? Like, yeah, there was Identity Crisis, but at least Identity Crisis had a name, had a reason for its name. Heroes in Crisis, I don't know yet. We'll have to see as the issues go on. But yeah, and okay, I was curious about, okay, so clearly Tom King had an idea, but why am I thinking that this was also editorial mandate for certain things that happened in the first issue that basically make me think, yeah, Dan DiDio did something with this, didn't he? Allow me to go into detail about this after we go through the cover pages of the whatnot and show some variant covers that happen, as you'll see in the video showing the images I found off the internet. We see Booster Gold going ahead at a diner, and he's basically ordering some breakfast, and then all of a sudden Harley Quinn shows up, and one of the patrons goes ahead and says there's another hero coming, and Booster Gold just says, "That's not a hero." "Oh? That's a villain." "Oh. Well now, there's going to be a fight." "Yeah, there's going to be a fight." And I'm just thinking, wow, that's very casual. Like, extremely casual. Then we get our big opening credits in the sky with Superman flying. Oh, I do gotta wonder, how does that work in real time? Like, does Superman just somehow morph the clouds to say Heroes in Crisis? Okay, I know I'm going overboard with this, but I just wanted to joke on that. This is part 1, titled I'm Just Warming Up. We open up with some shots of Harley Quinn in this 9-panel layout, basically being documented at the sanctuary, giving her thoughts on things, addressing her name and saying she doesn't believe in trauma, and how basically she, like how everything's real and how she prefers to use violence, basically. And then she goes in and says, bang, 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 and then she just cries out saying, God. So then we go back to Harley Quinn and Booster Gold, and one of the owners of the restaurant basically says anything to eat, and Harley Quinn just says, I don't know, you have dessert, and they mention how they got a peach pie fresh off the oven, and I'm like, oh, this is the most casual fight ever happening. Like, I was kind of curious. Like, I looked at things up before reading this and looked up things beforehand. The Harley Quinn is no longer with the Joker. She's kind of in this anti-hero state. Like, she's a good guy, but at the same time still having violent tendencies. Like, so still psychotic. So, I think that because of what happened with Suicide Squad, they wanted to attribute that since everyone loved Harley Quinn in that movie. So, they wanted to bring it into this universe. So yeah, even her design is pretty much resembling that of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn portrayal and whatnot. Yeah, sorry about that. I woken up and I forgot to turn off my alarm, if you heard that, but don't worry, I fixed that, so that won't happen again. But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of similarities between Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn and the DC Universe's Harley Quinn. And she says she'll have the pie. And then she says this to Booster Gold. Can I tell you a secret, Goldie? You promise not to tell anyone? And then Booster Gold says, promise. And then she says, I hate pudding. Well, considering that she called the Joker pudding all the time, I can actually understand why she thinks that. So Harley Quinn has a slice of the peach pie, and basically says it smells like America. America! Fuck yeah! What you gonna do when we come for you now? And then we see crows feasting on something, and then we hear a loud booming noise from Superman, basically breaking the sound barrier. He heads towards the sanctuary and reports to Batman or somebody, saying, okay, I'm here. Then we get to see Blue Jay, an interview with Blue Jay about basically how he shrinks and how he's been having a hard time controlling it lately, how he's been drowning in his blankets like it's an ocean, and he knows what's causing this, but he still doesn't want to drown in it. And then we head back to Harley Quinn, going ahead and finishing up her breakfast and going ahead, grabbing a small little knife and talking about a story how she came off a bit scathed from an event that happened to her, apparently. And then she starts stabbing Booster Gold by singing this. Old McBooster had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on this farm he had a Harley, E-I-E-I-O, with a stab here and a stab there, here a stab, everywhere, stab, and Booster Gold defends himself and basically destroys the inside of the diner. Congrats. Booster Gold says he doesn't want to hurt Harley. Yeah, okay, think about this. This is also New 52 continuity still, says this is the New 52 universe, while also being the DC Rebirth Initiative. Why doesn't Booster Gold want to hurt Harley Quinn? Like, I could have sworn she's still seen as a villain to many people. Like, is that like Injustice Harley Quinn, who had a redemption arc going on and was a Justice League member? Yeah, that actually happened. So, whatnot. And then Harley Quinn, drenching some of the blood of Booster Gold onto her cheeks, under her eyes and cheeks, she says she's going to hurt him. Batman goes ahead and says he's 13 minutes out and tells Superman not to touch anything, while Wonder Woman just says, Bruce, he knows. Superman goes ahead and says he won't, and then he says he has seen that they're all gone. Like, a lot of people are dead. One of them being Hotspot. And we see a Hotspot doing an interview from the Sanctuary where he has a catchphrase saying, I'm just warming up. And yeah, he's been saying that's like his coping mechanism when it comes to, you know, fighting bad guys and whatnot. And then Superman looks at Hotspot. Hotspot has a tear in his eye, so apparently something happened that made him cry before he died, or was it the pain? And then Superman says Hotspot is confirmed. He had and then Wonder Woman says Clark, and then Superman would say there's a thing he would say. Wasn't there? I can't remember. And I'm just thinking, wow! He says that a lot, and Superman doesn't remember. That could be kind of seen as a little, what's that word? I'm thinking a little dickish? Yeah. And then we get back to Harley Quinn trying to kill Booster Gold or something and starts fighting him. And I'm just wondering, okay, I get Harley Quinn had this sneak attack initiative, even though Booster Gold knew there was going to be a fight, but I'm just wondering how on earth is she kicking Booster Gold's ass with all the tech he has, as far as I know, in the New 52 continuity. So, yeah, Booster Gold and her are fighting. He says he's going to take her to the Hall of Justice, and then Superman goes ahead and arrives to the house of the Sanctuary, floating in, and there's no reaction, there's no greeter. Superman opens the door, and then he sees something that shocks him to his very core. And this is possibly where people got lost with the issue and the entire storyline as a whole, because Wally Harper and Wally West are dead. What? So, let's see if I get this straight. Arsenal, who's having a storyline with Red Arrow and the Titans, is dead. Wally West, whose entire existence depends on the DC Rebirth Initiative, and everyone suspected he would show up in Doomsday Clock to have a big role, is dead, because this is kind of important for Wally West to figure out what the hell's going on with Dr. Manhattan and how he changed history for his grand, and I didn't say this in my video, but I keep thinking now it's like a big social experiment to him, like he's watched YouTube videos and think this is just some big game to him in his quest for curiosity and knowledge. But, yeah, Wally West is dead. And he also just come out with a storyline where he has surpassed Barry Allen as the fastest man alive. And Wally West is dead, which led me to think, like, okay, Dr. Manhattan has something to do with this. This is the only logical explanation I can think of. That's the only way I can buy into this. That Dr. Manhattan either directly or somehow controlled somebody to kill everybody and transferred his powers into this host and killed everybody. That's my only way of justifying this, because he doesn't want to be seen yet. He hasn't shown himself directly yet, and anyone who has seen him directly have all been killed or taken. So, yeah, this is where the issue kind of loses a lot of people, and a lot of people aren't happy about it. I've been looking that up for the last 24 hours. Yeah, a lot of people aren't happy about killing off Roy Harper and Wally West. Then we get a file of talking about Arsenal, saying how he's an addict and how he's been struggling with his addictions and how it's been affecting his health and kidneys. And then he tried to use the needle, and that's not really working, and like he's struggling. And then as we see Booster Gold flying, he apparently does not know the definition of take the knife away from Harley Quinn. So she continues to stab him and then stabs him in the chest, and they fall all the way down to the farm. And Superman goes back and says Sanctuary is confirmed. And there's some writing on the wall saying the peddlers are all dead. showing all the machines since this operates with holographic and machine technology, and Superman in his state of horror saying, "We built this to help them. I mean, to help us. And now..." And he can't finish speaking. And then Wonder Woman speaks saying "puddler" since she and Batman arrive. And she goes ahead and talks about that word meaning, saying, "It is a term for those who work in iron, who make weapons, swords. Puddlers are skim the molten metal. Remove the imperatives so that the iron can be strong." I mean, the impurities. But what this means, with this, I am perhaps not the world's greatest detective. Well, you're not, Batman is. And Batman deduces that the person who committed these horrible crimes was someone being treated here by Sanctuary, along with a lot of other heroes. Wonder Woman closes Wally West's eyes, and I'm still pissed off. And that someone killed Sanctuary and a lot of the heroes. So it means what we already know it means. What it always means. Our hope for redemption is now just in the hunt for vengeance. And I will make sure the son of a bitch pays for inventing rock and roll! So then we end this issue with Booster Gold talking with Harley and saying... Like, he says this, "You killed me and I saved you, even after we were all there just to get help. We were all the same. We were all hurt. And then you, Harley, I saw you hurting us, killing us." And then Harley just says, "Oh, Goldie, how deep did you crack? I saw you I stupidly ran from you, like a coward or a frickin' clown. Nah, Goldie, I didn't save them, but I didn't kill them. You did." And then our comic ends with Booster Gold giving his discussions in the Sanctuary, where he says, "I'm Booster Gold. I'm the greatest hero you've never heard of. And you are Sanctuary, the robot super reality therapist built with Kryptonian tech and infused with the will of Batman, of the compassion of Wonder Woman, and of course, the honor of Superman. You help heroes who have seen too much or done too much. All us heroes, all fighting all the time. And because of all that, we're all messed up. Including good old Booster Gold. So, okay then. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm talking. Help me." Yeah, that's how the issue ends. This is the beginning of a gigantic mystery, and I'm still on the opinion that at the end of all this, either A, they're going to fix all this, or B, this is going to end with it being revealed that this was Dr. Manhattan having some role in this, because... Okay, here's the surprising thing. I actually was talking with Linkara on Twitter. I was writing some stuff. I found someone comment about it, and he was mad about the issue. Like, he hasn't seen it, but from what he heard, he was pissed off about the shocking deaths they did in order to open this up. But then I had responded to him saying, "Hey, do you think a certain doctor had something to do with it?" He says no, because Doomsday Clock is a self-contained story, which I can understand that viewpoint, but at the same time, like I said, even though it's a self-contained story, it takes place a year after all the events that go on in the DC Universe. So, by the time Heroes in Crisis is already going on, it's already over in Doomsday Clock. It's past Doomsday Clock. It's over by the time Doomsday Clock starts, so this could just be bleed-in effects, as in all the things that led to Doomsday Clock, the current state of the world in Doomsday Clock, is basically being built up in all these events and all these storylines. The events that led to Doomsday Clock are bleeding into the DC Universe, trying to get more catched up with them. Like, it was mentioned, Jeff Johns did say that everything that goes on in the DC Universe will eventually come into play that leads to the events of Doomsday Clock. We start getting that with some Action Comics moments where they talk about the Superman theory. So, yeah, it looks like Heroes in Crisis most likely is going to have a connection with the lead up to Doomsday Clock in the time of the DC universe. So, yeah, this is a fairly interesting issue, and I do have reasons to believe that Dr. Manhattan was behind this. Like, okay, here's the best way to describe it. Let's say it was Booster Gold who did this. I don't think he did it with intention. I don't think he did it with purpose. He was under Dr. Manhattan's control and was told to kill them. Or he infused them with their powers, because that's the only way I can buy that Wally West was killed by Dr. Manhattan, because he's pretty much the only known guy I can think of that has the power to do this. Unless you got Reverse Flash and whatnot, except he died twice and apparently he came back. Yeah, he's had the most revivals in the DC universe so far, and for me, when I look this stuff up. But, like, I'm thinking, okay, so it has to be having a connection with Dr. Manhattan. Like, when I saw one of the variant covers, I was thinking, wait, is this the Psycho Pirate? Like, it was mentioned the Psycho Pirate does exist in the continuity of the DC and New 52 universe, so does this have a role in this? Does Psycho Pirate, like, influence people to start killing each other? And if so, why? And how would he know about Sanctuary? The only one who would know is Dr. Manhattan, since he's omnipresent and he's omniscient, so he could have done something with this. So I'm just led to believe that it was Dr. Manhattan. Every evidence I keep thinking of ends up with Dr. Manhattan being responsible. Like, they don't have to let him show up in the end of in this event. They could just, like, you know, go ahead and say that it was a guy who came to his mind, calling himself Manhattan. Like, they don't have to directly show him. They could just mention him and say that he came to them. He's spoken to the culprit, was saying that some giant blue guy came to him in his mind and said, kill everybody here. Like, why would Dr. Manhattan kill these people? Well, it's because Wally West is there. Everyone else would probably be just collateral damage. Because, really, you really think anyone's going to try and stop the heroes there, at least, except for Harley Quinn? I'm pretty sure the heroes would have tried to go ahead and try and stop this. At most part, I think Booster Gold is basically Identity Crisis's Dr. Light red herring role they're going to do. That's the logical explanation for me. But yeah, this issue is going to be a very mixed bag for people, because you killed off Roy Harper and Wally West. You killed off a whole bunch of people. Like, okay, maybe I can buy it, like, a couple of them being killed, but I just don't think it was a good idea to kill off Wally West and Roy Harper having all their storylines. And what from the covers indicate, this is going to feature a lot of the DC heroes and villains probably, but mostly Harley Quinn being the anti-hero. And yeah, I just left wondering, why Wally West and Roy Harper? They kind of have big storylines going on. I don't know about anyone else's storylines that's going on, but, like, yeah. So, like I said, every time I look at this, I'm just thinking that this has to be Dr. Manhattan. He had to have something to do with this. It has to be him. That's the only way I could try and justify myself and rationalize what the hell happened. But no, like, if it doesn't reveal it's Dr. Manhattan, then it's either a new villain or it's a villain that I don't recall remembering that has this kind of power. But I'm still saying that I could only accept Wally West being killed is if Dr. Manhattan has something to do with it. Since he has a very strong role in this, he stole 10 years of their lives, he altered history, he destroyed Barry Allen's Flashpoint timeline by going ahead and interfering when Barry Allen was fixing everything, and then masqueraded as Pandora for some reason, and Pandora was killed when she found out the truth. And yeah, it's all hijinks ensuing. So yeah, Heroes in Crisis issue 1, it's a mixed bag. It's going to be a mixed bag probably. This entire series, limited series, is probably at best going to be a mixed bag for people, because, like I said, you killed Wally West, you killed Roy Harper, and yeah, this is going to be like a warning sign to a lot of people in their heads, like, yeah, I don't think I want to do this right now. And then I had looked up, then I went ahead and looked up about, and realized that Martian Manhunter was in the cover, and I was like, wait, did Martian Manhunter come back? I haven't heard from him. I thought he disappeared. Since I could have sworn he was in the Justice Society because he's very old. I could be wrong. Like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not well versed in comic lore. Like, I'm trying to get as much information as I humanly can, but like I said, that's why in my writing multiverse series, I said I would just make my own continuity in order to make things work the way I want it to, instead of having to read all the comics and whatnot to understand what the hell is going on for a fraction of it. Also, Nightwing and Starfire are somewhat in a horrendous, horror-filled embrace. So they might be teasing their relationship getting back together, probably. I don't know, but still. So, yeah, those were my thoughts on Heroes in Crisis issue number 1. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more.